Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about something most history books kinda gloss over. The lives of women who worked in Victorian brothels. I know, sounds weird for a bedtime story, but honestly, it's a fascinating slice of forgotten history about real women just trying to survive. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. Super curious where you're all listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. Alright, find that cozy spot, take a nice slow breath and just let your body sink into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to Victorian London and trust me, you're going to be real grateful for that mattress by the time we're done. So congratulations, you just woke up in London 1857, the peak of the Victorian era. It's early morning, maybe 5 or 6, and you're not in some fancy 4-poster bed. You're lying on a slightly lumpy horsehair mattress with a thin woolen blanket pulled over you. The sheets aren't fresh, they're changed once a week at best, and they carry the faint scent of cheap lavender water that doesn't quite mask the mustiness beneath. The room is chilly. Coal for the small fireplace is strictly rationed, especially in the morning hours. The walls are covered in faded floral wallpaper, peeling slightly at the corners where dampness has seeped in. There's a persistent smell that hits your nose, a mixture of coal smoke from thousands of chimneys, the nearby Thames with its distinct aroma of mud and sewage, and something sweeter and more chemical, the perfumes and cosmetics that are tools of the trade here. You're in a room at the back of a brothel in the Haymarket area of London. Not the worst establishment, not by a long shot, but certainly not one of the high-class ones either. You share this small room with another woman. She's still asleep on the other narrow bed, her breathing deep and steady. Shifting slightly, you feel the springs of the mattress creak beneath you. You stretch your legs, pointing your toes, feeling that tension and then the relief as you relax again. That's nice, just taking a moment before the day begins. Outside, London is already awake. You hear the clip-clop of horses' hooves on cobblestones, the rattle of cart wheels, and the first street vendors beginning their calls. "Fresh bread," someone shouts from a few streets away. The voice echoes between the tall buildings. "This is your life, Mary. They call you here, though that's not the name your mother gave you. You've been at this house for nearly 2 years now, which makes you something of a fixture. You've seen girls come and go. Some moved up to better houses. Some disappeared back to the poverty they came from. Some fell ill and never recovered." You sit up slowly, letting the blanket pool around your waist. The floorboards are cold against your bare feet as you reach for the woolen shawl hanging on the bedpost and wrap it around your shoulders. Nice and snug, that feels better. On the small table between the beds sits a chipped ceramic pitcher and basin. The water inside has a thin film of ice on top. Winter in London is brutal. You break it with your finger, the cold water stinging your skin before splashing your face. The shock of it fully wakes you, your breath catching for a moment before steadying again. Now let's talk about how you ended up here, in this room, in this life, because the story might not be what you'd expect. You weren't kidnapped or sold into this work as a child, though that happened to some girls, especially the very young ones. You weren't seduced and abandoned by some gentleman, left pregnant and destitute, though that too was a common enough tale. No, your path was more mundane, and in many ways more representative of how most women found themselves in this profession. You were a seamstress, a good one, with nimble fingers and a keen eye for detail, but there were hundreds of women like you in London, thousands even, all competing for the same poorly paid work. The British Quarterly once noted that compared to the drudgery of a dressmaker's apprentice, factory work was mere play, and they weren't wrong. You would work 14, sometimes 16 hours a day, straining your eyes in poor light, your fingers cracked and bleeding in winter, and for what? Starvation wages that barely kept a roof over your head. You lean back against the wall now, feeling its solid support behind you. Taking a deep breath, you roll your shoulders, feeling some of the tension release. That's better, just easy and relaxed now. You remember the turning point clearly. It was winter, 3 years ago. You hadn't eaten in 2 days. The room you rented was unheated, and you could see your breath misting in the air as you worked frantically to finish a commission that might pay enough for a week's lodging. Your fingers were so numb you kept pricking them with the needle, leaving tiny spots of blood on the fine white linen. A girl you knew, Jane, came to visit. You'd worked together once. She looked different, healthier, better fed, wearing a wool dress that, while not fashionable by upper-class standards, was clean and warm and well-made. She brought food, actual hot food, a meat pie still steaming in its wrapping, and sat with you while you devoured it, trying not to seem as desperate as you felt. "There's a place," she said finally, "a house off Haymarket. The madam is strict but fair. No funny business, no cruelty, 2 meals a day and a decent bed. Medical checks weekly." She paused, watching your face. "You'd make in a night what you make in a week here, Mary. And you wouldn't be killing yourself with this." She gestured at the pile of sewing. You didn't answer right away. You'd been raised properly, in a God-fearing home, but your parents were dead, your brothers scattered to the winds seeking work, and here you were slowly starving to death 1 stitch at a time. The weight of that memory settles over you, and you feel yourself sinking a little deeper into the mattress. Your breathing slows naturally, in and out, just like that. The house is starting to wake up around you. You hear footsteps on the stairs, heavy ones, probably Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper. There's the clatter of coal being shoveled, a fire being lit downstairs in the parlour where the customers wait. The scent of coffee drifts up. Real coffee, not chicory. This house prides itself on small luxuries. Your roommate stirs, mumbling something in her sleep before turning over. Lily, she's called here. She's younger than you by a few years, maybe 19 to your 24, with auburn hair that the gentleman seemed to fancy. She came from a factory in Manchester, she told you once. The noise of the looms had made her partially deaf in one ear. Time to get up properly. You have routines to follow, expectations to meet. Mrs. Winters runs a tight ship, and tardiness isn't tolerated. The madam, Mrs. Cartwright to her face, though the girls call her Carty when she's not around, expects everyone downstairs and presentable by noon. The brothel operates on a precise schedule. Mornings are for cleaning, bathing and rest. Afternoons see a few regular customers, businessmen on extended lunch breaks mainly. Evenings and nights are the busiest times, with the house often full until the early hours. But now, in this quiet morning moment, you take your time. You reach for the tin on the bedside table and remove the small lump of beeswax inside. Warming it between your palms, you then smooth it over your chapped lips. Another small luxury. Mrs. Cartwright insists that the girls take care of themselves. "You're selling an illusion, girls," she often says. "Gentlemen don't want to see the reality of a working woman's life." You find yourself nodding slightly at the thought. Good advice, really. Most of the men who visit don't want reality. They want fantasy, escape, something different from their respectable wives and homes, something that makes them feel special or powerful or simply seen. Standing up, you stretch fully, arms reaching toward the low ceiling, feeling the pleasant pull in your muscles. Your nightdress, a simple cotton affair, nothing like the silk and lace confections you wear for work, falls around your ankles as you move to the small wardrobe. During the day, when not entertaining, you wear ordinary clothes, a simple dress, practical shoes, nothing that would mark you out as different from any other working woman on the streets of London. That's important. While brothels themselves aren't illegal, public solicitation is. The police generally leave established houses alone, especially those that pay the expected bribes, but discretion is still necessary. You select a dark blue dress, slightly faded but well mended, and lay it on the bed. Getting dressed is a slower process than it will be later when you might need to change quickly between customers. Now, you can take your time, enjoying the routine of it. Stockings first, then petticoat, then corset, not tightly laced during the day, just enough to provide structure. As you dress, you think about the day ahead. Tuesday is usually quiet. There might be a few regulars in the afternoon. Mr. Phillips, the bank clerk who visits every other week and mainly wants to talk about his stamp collection. Or perhaps the nervous young man who gives his name as Smith and never stays longer than 15 minutes. Outside, the sounds of London grow louder as the morning advances. A group of children run past below the window, their shrill voices rising above the general din. A dog barks somewhere nearby. A street vendor begins his melodic call, "Knives to grind, knives to grind." The normality of it all still sometimes strikes you as strange. This life, this work that society condemns as the ultimate female degradation happens right alongside ordinary London life. The baker delivers fresh bread to the brothel just as he does to the respectable boarding house next door. The coalman, the iceman, the laundress, all come and go, providing the same services they provide to any household. You sit back down on the edge of the bed, taking a moment just to breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Nice and easy, that's it. There's a quiet knock at the door. "Hot water, miss," comes a voice. Young Betsy, the maid of all work. She's only 13, too young for the house's main business. Mrs. Cartwright took her in when she found her begging on the street, half-starved. Now she helps the housekeeper, runs errands, and sleeps in a tiny room off the kitchen. In a few years she'll likely join the other girls, but for now she's protected, which is more than can be said for many children on London's streets. "Come in, Betsy," you call. The door opens and the girl enters, carrying a large jug of steaming water. Her face is freshly scrubbed, her brown hair neatly braided. "Morning, Miss Mary," she says cheerfully, pouring the hot water into your basin. "Cold one today. Mrs. Winters says there might be snow later." "Thank you, Betsy," you say, giving her a smile. "Had your breakfast yet?" "Yes, miss. Cook made porridge with treacle. There's coffee in the kitchen if you want some, and fresh bread too. This is another thing that makes this house better than some. Regular meals, decent food. In the worst brothels, girls might go hungry if business is slow, or be fed scraps barely fit for consumption. Here, Mrs. Cartwright understands that healthy girls earn more money." Betsy leaves and you wash properly with the hot water, enjoying the warmth on your skin. The routine is soothing. Face first, then neck, arms, under your arms, and finally a quick rinse of your most intimate areas. Full bathing happens twice a week in this house. Wednesdays and Sundays. In the copper tub that's brought into the kitchen. It's more frequent than many respectable working-class women manage, actually. Once washed, you feel more human. You run a comb through your hair, dark brown, thick, reaching halfway down your back when loose. For daytime, you twist it into a simple knot at the nape of your neck. Later, for work, you'll style it more elaborately, perhaps with the artificial hairpiece that adds volume and curls. There's a small mirror propped on the dresser, its silver backing spotted with age. You check your reflection briefly. Your face is looking better than it did in your seamstress days. Regular food has filled out the hollows in your cheeks, added a healthier colour to your skin. Your eyes, though, they've changed. More guarded now, more watchful. You've seen things, know things that the innocent girl from the countryside never imagined. You shake off the moment of reflection. No use dwelling on such thoughts. Instead, you focus on finishing dressing, lacing your boots with practiced fingers, each movement precise and familiar. Settling into the rhythm of the task, your breathing naturally slows, in and out, steady and calm. fully dressed now. You're ready to face the day. Your first task will be breakfast, then helping with the general cleaning of the house. Each girl has assigned duties. Yours include dusting the parlour and polishing the glasses in the small bar area. Mrs. Cartwright believes idle hands lead to trouble, so even when not entertaining customers, the girls are kept busy. Lily finally stirs properly, sitting up with a yawn. "Morning," she mumbles, pushing her tangled hair from her face. "What time is it?" "Just past 7, you tell her. "Plenty of time yet." She nods, stretching her arms above her head. "Had that dream again," she says. "The one about the seaside. Have you ever been, Mary? To the sea?" "Once," you say, remembering a rare family outing years ago. "Brighton, when I was small." "I'd like to go someday," Lily says, her voice wistful. "They say the air is different there, cleaner, that you can breathe proper." This is a common dream among the girls, saving enough to escape London to start fresh somewhere else. Some manage it, most don't. The money that seems so good compared to other women's work still slips away, some to lodging and food, some to clothes and necessities for the job, some to small comforts and luxuries that make the life bearable. "You will," you tell her, though you're not sure you believe it. "Keep putting something aside each week, even just a shilling. It adds up." She nods, but you both know how hard it is to save. There's always something: a toothache needing treatment, a dress torn beyond mending, a friend in desperate need. Life has a way of consuming whatever small buffer you try to build. You feel a moment of heaviness at the thought, then consciously let it go. Your shoulders drop slightly as you exhale. "That's better. Just easy now. I'll see you downstairs," you tell Lily, who's finally getting up. "Don't be too long. Mrs. Winters was stomping about earlier, and you know what that means?" "She's in a mood," Lily agrees with a grimace. "I'll hurry." You leave the room, closing the door quietly behind you. The narrow hallway is dimly lit with worn carpet running its length. There are 4 other bedrooms on this floor, all similar to yours. Downstairs are the public rooms, the parlour where customers are received, a small dining room, the kitchen and servants' quarters at the back. The best bedroom, reserved for Mrs. Cartwright's personal use, is on the ground floor, allowing her to monitor comings and goings. The house itself is narrow but tall, squeezed between similar buildings on a side street. It's respectably maintained on the outside, with clean curtains in the windows and a freshly painted door. Nothing identifies it as a brothel. There's no red light, no obvious sign. Customers know to come here through word of mouth, through discreet advertisements in certain publications, through the network of cab drivers and hotel porters who receive commissions for directing gentlemen this way. As you descend the stairs, the smell of coffee grows stronger, mingling now with baking bread and frying bacon. Your stomach rumbles in response. The wooden stairs creak slightly underfoot, a homely, familiar sound. You run your hand along the banister, feeling its smoothness from years of similar touches. The house is warming up now as fires are lit in the main rooms. That persistent London chill is retreating, at least within these walls. You can hear the housekeeper's voice from the kitchen giving instructions to the cook, the normal domestic sounds of any household beginning its day. And for now, in this moment, it could almost be any house, any life. There's a rhythm to the morning that's soothing in its predictability, a pattern that carries you forward, one step at a time, through each day. You feel your body settling into that rhythm, your breathing matching its gentle pace, in and out, easy and calm. You pause at the bottom of the stairs, taking a moment just to be. Your muscles feel loose and comfortable, your mind quiet. Despite everything, there's a certain peace in this moment, in the simple fact of being alive, of having survived another night in a city that devours so many. The kitchen door is open, warm light spilling into the hallway. You can see the cook at the stove, her broad back turned to you as she works. Betsy is setting the table in the corner where the servants and girls eat together. Mrs. Winters is reading a letter, her spectacles perched on her nose, her grey hair neatly tucked under a cap. An ordinary scene, a moment of calm before the complex dance of the day begins. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs completely, and then release it slowly. Your shoulders drop, tension flowing away like water. You're ready now. You step forward into the kitchen's warmth, into the mingled scents of coffee and bread and wood smoke, into the quiet chatter of the beginning day. There's bacon frying in the pan, its rich aroma making your mouth water slightly. Your stomach gives another little rumble of anticipation. "Morning, Mary," says the cook without turning around. She has an uncanny ability to identify each person by their footsteps. "Sleep well?" "Well enough," you answer, moving to help Betsy with the table settings. The routine of it is comforting, the familiar weight of the plates, the precise arrangement of the cutlery. Your hands move automatically while your mind drifts, pleasant and unfocused. Outside, London continues to wake. A church bell rings in the distance, marking the hour. Voices call in the street, vendors, neighbours, children. The endless symphony of the city rises and falls like breath, in and out, like waves at that seaside Lily dreams of visiting. Rising and falling, a gentle rhythm that carries you along as you sink deeper into the familiar patterns of the day, your body relaxed and comfortable, your breathing steady and slow as you move around the warm kitchen, helping prepare for breakfast with the others. The smell of fresh bread grows stronger as the cook takes a loaf from the oven, its crust golden brown and crackling slightly as it cools. The kitchen table is large and rectangular, scarred with years of use. 8 chairs are squeezed around it, enough for the 5 girls currently working in the house, plus Mrs. Winters, Betsy and cook. Mrs. Cartwright takes her meals separately in her private sitting room, maintaining the distance that she believes necessary for proper management. You slip into your usual chair, feeling the smooth, worn wood beneath you. The seat has been polished by years of use, shaped by countless bodies before yours. There's something comforting about that continuity, that shared experience across time. You settle in, feeling the solid support beneath you. Cook brings over a large pot of porridge, setting it in the centre of the table with a satisfying thud. It's good porridge, thick and creamy, made with milk rather than water, sweetened with a spoonful of treacle, another of the small luxuries that marks this house as a cut above the most basic establishments. "Eat up while it's hot," Cook says, her broad face flushed from the stove's heat. She's a widow in her 50s, came to work here after her husband's death left her destitute, never comments on the nature of the business, just cooks and keeps to herself, makes sure the girls eat properly, believes good food is the foundation of health. You help yourself to a generous bowl, the steam rising in fragrant curls. The first spoonful is hot and sweet on your tongue, the texture smooth and comforting. You close your eyes briefly, just enjoying the simple pleasure of good food when you're hungry. The other girls filter in gradually. First Emily, a petite blonde who's been here about 6 months. Then Sarah, older than most at nearly 30, with a no-nonsense attitude and a surprising talent for numbers. She helps Mrs. Cartwright with the accounts. Last is Josephine, the newest, still adjusting to the life, her eyes often red from private tears. Lily finally appears, hair hastily pinned up, still looking half asleep. She slips into the chair beside you just as Mrs. Winters begins serving the coffee. "Nearly missed breakfast," you murmur, passing her the porridge pot. "Worth it for an extra 10 minutes in bed," she whispers back with a small smile. The coffee here is another luxury, real coffee, not the chicory substitute that most working-class households make do with. It's strong and hot, sweetened with sugar for those who want it. You cradle the cup in both hands, feeling its warmth seep into your fingers. Nice and cosy. The rich aroma rises with the steam, rich and slightly bitter. Breakfast is a mostly quiet affair. There's an unspoken rule against discussing business this early. Instead, the conversation drifts to ordinary topics. The weather, a funny story about the butcher's delivery boy slipping in the alley yesterday, speculation about whether the greengrocer's wife is expecting again. Normal conversation, everyday matters, the kind of talk that happens around thousands of breakfast tables across London every morning. This normalcy is important, a reminder that despite the nature of the work, this is also just a place where people live, eat, sleep and go about their daily business. You feel yourself relaxing into this ordinary moment, your shoulders dropping slightly, your breathing deep and even. The food settles warm in your stomach, providing energy for the day ahead. You take another sip of coffee, savouring the rich bitterness. After breakfast, the day's chores begin. The house runs on a strict schedule with specific tasks assigned to each girl, not just for efficiency, but because Mrs. Cartwright believes that routine and responsibility help maintain order and prevent the chaos that plagues less well-run establishments. Today, your morning duties include dusting the parlour and polishing the glassware in the small bar area. Simple, repetitive tasks that allow your mind to wander while your hands stay busy. There's something meditative about such work. The regular motion, the gradual transformation from dusty to clean, dull to shining. The parlour is the main public room of the house, where customers are first received. It's decorated in a style that might be called respectable with hints of luxury. Solid furniture in dark wood, upholstered in red velvet that's slightly worn at the arms but still plush. Heavy curtains in a matching shade tied back during the day to admit what little London sunlight filters through the perpetual haze of coal smoke. A few carefully chosen paintings on the walls, landscapes mostly, with one mildly suggestive classical scene featuring draped nymphs. Nothing too obvious, nothing that would immediately identify this as a brothel to a casual observer. That's deliberate. Maintaining a veneer of respectability protects everyone. If a police officer did enter, there would be nothing immediately incriminating to see. Just a private home with several young women in residence. Suspicious perhaps, but not definitively illegal. You begin your dusting, working methodically around the room. Feather duster first for the larger surfaces, then a slightly damp cloth for the more detailed work. The familiar motions are soothing, requiring just enough attention to keep your mind occupied without demanding deep concentration. As you work, you can hear the house around you, Mrs. Winters instructing Betsy on the proper way to black the kitchen range, cook humming tunelessly as she kneads dough for the day's bread, Lily's light footsteps overhead as she makes the beds, ordinary domestic sounds that could belong to any household. The mantelpiece holds several ornaments, a china shepherdess, a small brass clock, a pair of decorative urns. You dust each carefully, replacing them in exactly the same positions. Mrs. Cartwright notices if things are moved even slightly. The clock ticks steadily, marking the peaceful morning rhythm. Through the window you can see a slice of London life. A maid beating a rug in the small yard behind the house next door. A cat picking its way fastidiously along a garden wall. A boy running with a message clutched in his hand. You move to the small bar in the corner of the room. It's not elaborate, just a cabinet containing glasses and a few bottles of spirits. Most customers are offered a glass of sherry or brandy when they first arrive. A social nicety, a way of easing the transaction. The The glasses need polishing. They develop a film in London's sooty air even when not used. You take each one, breathing gently on it before rubbing with a soft cloth in circular motions. The glass makes a soft squeaking sound as it comes clean, reflecting the dim light in gleaming facets. The repetitive motion is almost hypnotic, round and round. Your breathing naturally synchronizes with the movement, in as you begin the circle, out as you complete it, slow and steady. Your hands know just how much pressure to apply, enough to clean effectively without risking breaking the delicate crystal. Time passes peacefully as you work. The morning light shifts gradually, painting slow-moving patterns on the floor. Your mind drifts to pleasant, undemanding thoughts. The afternoon ahead, the book you're slowly reading in your spare moments, Dickens' latest, borrowed from Sarah, who gets them from a customer who owns a bookshop, the new ribbon you might buy for your hair if business is good this week. Simple thoughts, immediate concerns. You've learned not to dwell too much on the past or worry too far into the future. This life teaches you to exist primarily in the present, to take each day, each hour, each moment as it comes. The sound of the front door opening and closing brings you back to full awareness. Heavy footsteps in the hallway, a man's tread, then Mrs. Cartwright's voice, pitched lower than she uses with the girls, her tone professional but welcoming. "Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for coming so promptly." It's Wednesday, medical examination day. Every week the doctor visits to check the girls for signs of disease. It's one of Mrs. Cartwright's strictest rules, and one of the reasons her house maintains its reputation. In many brothels, disease runs rampant, with devastating consequences for both the women and their customers. Here, any girl showing symptoms is immediately removed from work and treated, expensive in the short term, but ensuring the long-term viability of the business. You finish polishing the last glass, setting it carefully in place. The doctor's arrival means a change in the day's rhythm. Examinations will take most of the morning, conducted in Mrs. Cartwright's private sitting room, converted temporarily into a consulting room. Each girl will be seen individually, the results recorded in a small notebook that Mrs. Cartwright keeps locked in her desk. You return the polishing cloth to the kitchen, where Mrs. Winters is now supervising Betsy's efforts at vegetable preparation. Carrots and onions are being chopped for the midday stew, their fresh, earthy scent mingling with the yeasty smell of rising bread dough. "Parlour's done, you tell Mrs. Winters. Shall I help here until the doctor's ready for me?" She looks up from inspecting Betsy's knife technique. "No need. He's seeing Josephine first, then Lily. You've time for your washing if you want. Personal laundry is done individually, each girl responsible for her own intimate items. The house laundress comes only for sheets, towels, and larger pieces. So once a week, usually on Wednesdays before bathing, you wash your personal things, the cloths used for monthly courses, undergarments, stockings. You collect your basket from the small cupboard off the kitchen and carry it through to the scullery at the back of the house. It's cooler here, with a stone floor and a large sink. You pump cold water into a copper basin, then add a kettle of hot water from the range to take the chill off. The physicality of washing is satisfying. The rhythmic movement of hands in water, the transformation of soiled to clean. You work methodically, rubbing soap into the fabric, working it with your fingers, rinsing thoroughly. The water turns cloudy, tiny soap bubbles catching the light in rainbow colours. This quiet, necessary task gives you time to think. The doctor's visit always prompts reflection. It's a reminder of the risks of this life, the diseases that can ravage a woman's body, bringing pain, disfigurement, and eventually death. You've seen it happen to others, a persistent cough that gets worse, not better, suspicious sores that don't heal. The telltale signs that mean a girl will soon disappear from the house, usually to one of the charitable hospitals if she's lucky, or to suffer alone if she's not. So far, you've been fortunate. careful. Mrs. Cartwright insists that certain precautions are taken with all customers, not foolproof, but better than nothing, and the weekly examinations catch problems early when they can still be treated. Still, you know this luck cannot last forever. Few women survive more than a few years in this profession without contracting something. It's a calculated risk, weighing the certainty of starvation in more respectable work against the possibility of disease in this one. You wring out the last piece, a cotton chemise, twisting it firmly to remove excess water. The muscles in your forearms flex with the motion, a pleasant sensation of strength and capability. Your hands, despite the harsh soap and water, are still relatively soft and smooth, another necessity of the work. Customers don't want to feel calloused hands on their skin. Carrying the damp laundry, you head out to the small yard behind the kitchen. A clothesline stretches from the house to a post near the wall, and you hang your things carefully using wooden pegs to secure them against the breeze. The air is cold but dry, good drying weather if the threatened snow holds off. The yard is tiny, just a small rectangle of flagstones with a few struggling plants in pots, but it's open to the sky, and after the confines of the house, you take a moment just to breathe the outside air. It's not fresh by any rural standard. London's atmosphere is always tainted with smoke and fog, but it's cooler and cleaner than inside. You tilt your face up, feeling the weak winter sunlight on your skin. A rare moment of pure physical pleasure, asking nothing of you, just the sensation of light and air. Your breathing deepens naturally, your chest expanding more fully. That feels good, just taking a moment for yourself. The back door opens and Lily pokes her head out. "Doctor's almost done with me. You're next," she says. Then, noting your upturned face, "Anything interesting up there in the sky?" You smile, lowering your gaze. "Just the usual. Sun, clouds, freedom." She snorts softly, understanding the half-joke. "Well, come in before you freeze. Mrs. Winters is heating water for tea, and Cook's made those currant buns you like." The promise of warm food and drink is tempting after the cold yard. You follow Lily inside, feeling the heat of the kitchen envelop you like an embrace. The contrast makes your skin tingle pleasantly as circulation returns to your chilled fingers. The kitchen is the heart of the house, the warmest room where everyone gravitates in their free time. Now, with midday approaching, it's busy with food preparation. Cook stands at the large table, rolling out pastry for a meat pie, her strong arms dusted with flour to the elbows. Mrs. Winters sits in the corner chair that's unofficially hers, darning a stocking with tiny, precise stitches. Betsy moves between them, fetching, carrying, learning by observation and instruction. You accept a mug of tea from Lily, wrapping your hands around its warmth. The steam rises, carrying the fragrant, slightly bitter aroma. You blow gently across the surface, watching the ripples spread in concentric circles. Something soothing about that simple physics. Action and reaction, cause and effect, predictable in an unpredictable world. "How was it?" you ask Lily quietly, referring to the examination. She shrugs. "Same as always. Cold hands, few questions, right in the book. All clear." She hesitates, then adds in an even lower voice, "Josephine wasn't, though. I heard Mrs. Cartwright telling her she's on rest for at least a week, medicine 3 times daily." You nod, unsurprised. Josephine has looked peaky lately, with dark shadows under her eyes and a persistent cough. Nothing serious yet, probably just the beginning of something that can be treated, but a reminder of the sword that hangs over all of you. A bell rings from the front of the house. Mrs. Cartwright summoning the next girl for examination. "That's you," Lily says, taking a bite of her currant bun. "Don't worry, he's in a good mood today. Barely poked at all." You set down your tea with a small sigh of regret. It was just reaching the perfect drinking temperature, but the doctor won't be kept waiting. His time is valuable, his services in demand across several similar establishments. Moving through the house toward Mrs. Cartwright's sitting room, you straighten your dress and smooth your hair automatically. Professional habits, ingrained after 2 years. Always present yourself well, even for something as clinical as a medical examination. The sitting room has been transformed for the doctor's visit. The small rosewood desk is cleared of its usual papers and ornaments, covered now with a clean white cloth. Upon it rest the tools of the doctor's trade: a stethoscope, small glass bottles of various solutions, a notebook and pencil. The comfortable armchair has been pushed back to make room for a straight-backed wooden chair positioned to catch the best light from the window. Dr. Harrison is a man of about 50 with greying hair and a neat beard. Unlike many doctors who serve this industry, he doesn't treat the women with contempt or unnecessary roughness. His manner is professional, his touch clinical rather than punitive. He wears a wedding ring and once mentioned children attending university. You sometimes wonder what his respectable family would think of his work with women like you. "Ah, Mary," he says, looking up from washing his hands in a basin. "How have you been keeping? Any concerns to report?" This is his standard opening, an acknowledgement that you're a person, not just a body to be examined, a small courtesy that matters more than it should. "Well enough. Thank you, Doctor," you reply. "No concerns." He nods, drying his hands on a clean towel. "Good. Good. Well then, shall we proceed?" Mrs. Cartwright sits discreetly in the corner, present as a chaperone, and to record the results, but positioned so as not to observe the actual examination, another small dignity in a situation that could easily lack any. The examination itself is brief but thorough. Breathing, heart rate, examination of the throat and eyes, then the more intimate check, quick and impersonal, his touch protected by thin gloves. You've learned to detach yourself during this part, to think of other things. The book, waiting in your room. The taste of the currant bun you'll have when this is over. The feel of sunshine on your face in the yard. "All appears to be in order," he says finally, stepping back and removing his gloves. "Continue as you are." He makes a note in his book, then nods to Mrs. Cartwright, who rises and escorts you to the door. In the hallway she murmurs, "Send Sarah in next, please," before returning to the room. The examination leaves you feeling slightly hollow, as it always does, not because of any pain or discomfort, there was none, but because of the reduction of your person to a collection of bodily functions to be assessed and judged. Necessary, yes, for your own protection as much as anyone's, but still, there's an emptiness that follows. You return to the kitchen, deliver the message to Sarah, and reclaim your cooling tea. The solid mug feels good in your hands, grounding you back in your body after the clinical disconnection. You take a long sip, then reach for one of the currant buns. It's still slightly warm. The currant's plump and sweet against the bland background of the dough. The clock in the hallway strikes 12, noon already. The morning has passed quickly, as it usually does on busy days. Soon the house will shift into its afternoon mode. There might be customers as early as 1 o'clock, businessmen taking extended lunch breaks, mostly. Regular clients who know the quieter hours mean more attention and less waiting. You finish your tea and bun, brushing crumbs from your dress. There's time for a quick visit to your room before the afternoon begins, a chance to check your appearance, perhaps change into something slightly more suitable for receiving customers than your morning work dress. The stairs creak familiarly underfoot as you climb to the upper floor. The house has settled into its midday quiet, that brief lull between morning chores and afternoon business. Even the sounds from outside seem muted, as if the whole street is taking a collective breath. Your room welcomes you with its familiar shapes and scents. Small, yes, and sparse by wealthy standards, but still yours in a way few spaces have been. The bed where you began your day, the small chest where you keep your clothes and few possessions, the window that offers a limited but precious view of sky above the rooftops. You catch sight of yourself in the small mirror, cheeks slightly flushed from the kitchen's warmth, hair still neat from morning brushing. You look ordinary, just a young woman in a simple dress, indistinguishable from thousands of others walking London streets. Nothing marks you visibly as what society would call fallen. No scarlet letter, no visible sign of moral judgment. This thought brings a small, wry smile to your lips. The hypocrisy of it all still strikes you sometimes, how the same society that condemns women like you creates the conditions that make this life necessary, then supplies the customers who make it profitable. But philosophical musings won't get you through the afternoon. You open the chest, considering what to wear. Not the finest things, those are saved for evening when the wealthier customers come, but something a step above the plain work dress. You select a blue dress with slightly more fashionable lines, made of cotton rather than wool, with a touch of lace at the collar, respectable enough not to alarm, attractive enough to entice. Changing is quick. You're practiced at dressing and undressing efficiently. The fresh dress feels good against your skin, the fabric lighter than the sturdy work dress. You check your hair, adding a few pins where needed, and pinch your cheeks lightly to bring colour to them. No cosmetics yet. Those, too, are saved for evening. Daytime customers expect a more natural look, in keeping with the fiction that this is somehow a spontaneous encounter rather than a business transaction. Ready now, you sit on the edge of the bed for a moment, just breathing slowly and deeply, in through your nose, out through your mouth, preparing yourself mentally for the shift from private person to professional. The separation between the two is important, a protective boundary that helps preserve some core of self amid the demands of the work. Your body feels relaxed, your mind clear. The bed supports you comfortably as you sit, your weight sinking slightly into the mattress. That connection to the physical world, the solid reality of objects, of sensations, helps center you. You run your hand over the blanket beside you, feeling its slightly rough texture against your palm. Real, present, now. From downstairs comes the sound of the front door opening, then closing. Voices in the hallway, Mrs. Cartwright's professional welcome, a man's deeper tones in response. The afternoon has begun. You rise from the bed, smoothing your dress one last time, a final deep breath, filling your lungs completely before releasing it slowly. Your shoulders drop as the air leaves you, tension flowing away like water. You're ready now. The door handle is cool under your fingers as you pull it open. The hallway stretches before you, the stairs leading down to where life continues its complex dance. Each step feels deliberate as you move forward, your breathing steady and even, your posture balanced and controlled, just like that, easy and calm. You descend into the afternoon, into whatever it may bring, your mind settled into the present moment. The wood of the banister is smooth beneath your trailing hand, polished by countless similar journeys. The house creaks and settles around you, a living thing with its own rhythms and patterns. You become part of that pattern, flowing with it rather than against it, each breath matching its gentle pulse. Nice and easy. That's it, moving forward one step at a time into the continuing day. The parlour is already occupied when you reach the bottom of the stairs. Mrs. Cartwright stands near the fireplace, one hand resting elegantly on the mantelpiece as she speaks to a visitor. The man has his back to you, middle-aged by the look of his posture, dressed in a well-cut but not ostentatious dark coat. A businessman, most likely. You pause in the doorway, waiting to be acknowledged. Mrs. Cartwright glances up, gives you a slight nod, permission to enter. "Ah, and here is Mary now," she says smoothly. "Mary, this gentleman was just asking after some pleasant company for an hour or so." The visitor turns, revealing a face that matches your initial impression, around 45, with greying hair at the temples and the weathered complexion of someone who spends time outdoors. His expression is polite, but slightly awkward. A new customer, then. "How do you do, sir?" you say, dropping a small curtsy. Not too deep, just enough to show proper manners. Your voice is different now, a touch softer, slightly more refined than your natural speech, the professional voice, learned through observation and practice. "Charles Wilson," he introduces himself, bowing slightly in return. Probably not his real name. Many customers use aliases, but that hardly matters. "Would you care for some refreshment, Mr. Wilson?" Mrs. Cartwright asks, gesturing toward the small bar you polished earlier. "A glass of sherry, perhaps, or brandy if you prefer. It's part of the ritual. This offer of a drink creates the illusion of a social call rather than a commercial transaction. Most men accept, using the time to assess the women and settle their nerves if they're new to the house." "Sherry would be most welcome," he says, and Mrs. Cartwright moves to pour it, her movements graceful and assured. You take the opportunity to study him more carefully. His clothes are good quality, but show signs of wear. A businessman doing well enough, but not extravagantly so. His hands reveal more, slightly roughened, with clean but trimmed nails. Someone who works with his hands sometimes, despite the business attire. A merchant, perhaps, or a shop owner who still helps with stock. Mrs. Cartwright hands him the glass of amber liquid, then excuses herself with practiced discretion. "I'll leave you two to become acquainted. The blue room is available when you're ready." And with that, she slips from the parlour, closing the door softly behind her. Now, it's just the two of you, standing a few feet apart in the quiet room. The fire crackles gently in the grate, sending shifting patterns of light across the walls. Outside, you can hear the muffled sounds of London, a cart passing, voices calling, the distant whistle of a train. "Please, sit down," you say, gesturing to one of the armchairs by the fire. "Make yourself comfortable." He does, perching somewhat stiffly on the edge of the seat. Nervous, then, you take the chair opposite, arranging your skirts with a practiced motion, not too close, giving him space, not appearing too eager. The dance has its steps, its rhythm. "Is this your first visit to Mrs. Cartwright's establishment?" you ask, though you already know the answer. He takes a sip of sherry before responding. "Is it that obvious?" You smile, just slightly. "Not at all. I simply haven't had the pleasure of your company before, and I know all our regular visitors." This seems to relax him somewhat. He leans back a little in the chair, the stiff line of his shoulders softening. "Yes, it's my first time. A business associate recommended the address, said it was respectable." That word again, respectable, so important in this society, this time. The thin veneer that makes the unacceptable acceptable, that allows men like Mr. Wilson to visit places like this without having to acknowledge what they're really doing. Mrs. Cartwright runs a very proper house, you agree. You'll find everything here is conducted with discretion and good taste. He nods, takes another sip of his sherry. You notice his hand is steadier now. The initial awkwardness is fading as the familiar social patterns assert themselves. For all its illicit nature, this interaction follows rules that are comfortingly predictable. "And you, Miss Mary, was it? Have you been here long?" It's a common question. Part curiosity, part assessment of your experience level, part attempt to make this feel like normal conversation. "Nearly 2 years, you answer. The truth, in this case. No need for elaboration. The conversation continues in this vein for several minutes. Light, impersonal topics, the weather, the recent exhibition at the Crystal Palace, a vague discussion of his business as an importer of tea and spices. Nothing too personal, nothing too revealing. Just enough to establish a minimal connection to ease the transition from strangers to what comes next. You observe him as he speaks, noting the details that will help you provide what he's seeking. His manner is restrained but not cold. His gaze meets yours steadily, without the furtive quality some men have. He seems lonely, perhaps, a widower or a man whose wife has been long ill. Someone seeking not just physical release, but human warmth. As he finishes his sherry, you sense the moment has come. The preliminary conversation has served its purpose. Now the real business must be addressed. "Would you care to continue our conversation somewhere more private, Mr. Wilson?" you ask, your voice gentle. He sets down his empty glass, nods. "Yes, I believe I would." You rise from your chair, feeling the smooth muscle movement in your legs, the slight adjustment as you find your balance. The fire has warmed the room nicely, and your body feels loose and comfortable. You extend your hand to him, not a demand, just an offer. "This way, then." He takes your hand briefly as he stands, then releases it. You lead him from the parlour, through the hallway and up the stairs. The blue room is on the first floor, a designated room for daytime visitors that isn't any girl's personal space. It's simply decorated but comfortable, with a large bed, a washstand and a small chest of drawers containing the necessary supplies. The transaction itself is unremarkable. Mr. Wilson is polite, not rough, grateful for the warmth and attention. He stays for the full hour he's paid for, though the physical act takes only a small portion of that time. The rest is spent in quiet conversation, his head resting on your shoulder, your hand stroking his hair gently. This too is part of what he's purchased, the illusion of intimacy, of being cared for. When the time is up, Mrs. Cartwright has a clock that chimes in the hallway, eliminating the need for awkward reminders. He dresses quickly, but not hurriedly. There's a dignity in his movements, an attempt to maintain propriety even in this most improper of situations. "Thank you," he says simply as he prepares to leave. He presses a small additional coin into your hand, a tip, a token of appreciation. "You've been very kind." "It was my pleasure," you respond, the professional phrase coming automatically. But in this case, it wasn't entirely untrue. As customers go, Mr. Wilson was considerate, clean, and uncomplicated. In this life, that counts as a good encounter. You show him to the stairs, where Mrs. Winters appears as if by magic to escort him the rest of the way down. The housekeeper will see him out discreetly, ensuring he doesn't encounter anyone coming in. Maintaining the illusion of privacy and exclusivity is important for the house's reputation. Once he's gone, you return to the blue room. Now comes the part of the job that customers never see, the cleaning up, the preparation for the next visitor. You strip the used sheet from the bed efficiently, bundling it for the laundry. From the chest, you take a fresh one, shaking it out with a practiced flick before smoothing it over the mattress. The pillowcase is changed too, the used one added to the laundry pile. At the washstand, you clean yourself thoroughly with the cloth and water provided. This is important, not just for hygiene, but for your own sense of separation between encounters. Each customer remains distinct, each interaction contained. There's a certain ritual to it that helps maintain boundaries. The used water is dumped into the slop bucket beneath the stand to be emptied later by Betsy. You refill the basin from the large pitcher, making sure everything is ready for the next use. The towels are straightened, the small cake of soap repositioned on its dish. Finally, you check your appearance in the mirror hanging over the chest. Your hair is slightly mussed. You fix it with a few deft movements of your fingers. Your dress has a small wrinkle where Mr. Wilson gripped it. You smooth this away with your palm. Your face looks back at you, unchanged, the same eyes, the same mouth, still you. This moment of quiet after a customer leaves is oddly peaceful, a pause between acts, a breath between words. You allow yourself to simply stand there for a moment, feeling the solid floorboards beneath your feet, listening to the house's small sounds. The ticking of the clock, the distant clatter from the kitchen, the muffled voices from downstairs. Your breathing falls into a natural rhythm, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Your shoulders drop slightly as tension releases. This too is part of the work, learning to let go, to not carry one encounter into the next. Easy now, that's it. The hallway clock strikes 3, the afternoon advancing. You gather the bundle of used linens and leave the blue room, pulling the door closed behind you. The laundry goes down the back stairs to the scullery, where it joins the growing pile for the laundress who comes tomorrow. In the kitchen, you find Lily and Emily sitting at the table, sharing a pot of tea. They look up as you enter. "Wilson?" Lily asks, pushing a clean cup toward you. "New one, isn't he?" You nod, pouring yourself some tea. Seems decent enough. Widower, I think. Tea merchant. This kind of exchange is common, sharing information about customers, especially new ones. It's partly gossip, partly practical. Knowing what to expect from each visitor makes the work easier, safer. "Better than my afternoon," Emily says with a grimace. Old Mr. Peterson again, same as always, wants to talk about his collection of snuff boxes for 45 minutes, then 5 minutes of the most mechanical, well, you know, and always smelling of those horrible lozenges he sucks. You smile sympathetically, settling into a chair with your tea. The sturdy wooden seat feels good beneath you, supporting your weight after standing. At least he's quick about that part. "Small mercies," Emily agrees with a rueful laugh. This camaraderie is one of the unexpected benefits of the life. There's a solidarity among the women here, a shared understanding that creates bonds despite the competitive nature of the work. You can speak freely with each other in a way that would be impossible with outsiders. No need to explain, to justify, to defend. Just acceptance of the reality you all share. The kitchen is warm and comforting after the cooler blue room. Cook is preparing vegetables for the evening meal, the rhythmic sound of her knife against the cutting board creating a soothing background to the conversation. The smell of baking bread fills the air. The second batch of the day for tonight's dinner. You take a sip of tea, feeling its warmth spread through your chest. It's good tea, another of the house's small luxuries. Mrs. Cartwright understands that well-fed, comfortable girls earn more and create fewer problems. The food here is plain but plentiful. The small comfort sufficient to create loyalty. "Anyone else booked for this afternoon?" you ask, reaching for a slice of the seed cake that sits on a plate in the centre of the table. Lily shakes her head. Quiet day. Sarah had someone earlier, and Josephine's still resting after what the doctor said. Mrs. Cartwright's in her office doing the accounts. A quiet afternoon is no bad thing. The real business happens in the evenings anyway, when the regular customers come after their offices close, or the occasional gentleman seeks entertainment after an evening at his club. Afternoons are often slower, more unpredictable. You break off a small piece of the seed cake, appreciating its dense, slightly sweet texture. Cook has a way with these simple foods. Nothing fancy, but well made with good ingredients. The caraway seeds add a distinctive flavour, aromatic and slightly spicy. "I might go out for a bit then," you say after finishing your cake. "Need to get some hairpins and writing paper. Anyone want anything from the shops?" Running small errands during quiet periods is allowed, even encouraged. Mrs. Cartwright believes that fresh air is beneficial and that occasional glimpses of normal life help keep the girls content with their situation. As long as you're back well before the evening begins, there's no objection. Both Lily and Emily decline the offer of shopping, so after finishing your tea, you head upstairs to get your shawl and purse. The small leather purse contains your personal money, tips from customers, the small weekly allowance Mrs. Cartwright provides beyond room and board. Not much, but enough for small purchases and the occasional treat. Your shawl is wool, dark blue and warm, if somewhat plain. Nothing that would mark you out as different from any other working woman doing her shopping. You wrap it around your shoulders, feeling its familiar weight settle comfortingly. The wool is slightly scratchy against your neck, but in a pleasant way, grounding you in physical sensation. The streets outside are busy with afternoon activity. Delivery carts rumble over the cobblestones, servants run errands for their employers, street vendors call their wares. You join this flow of humanity, anonymous in your plain dress and shawl. No one looking at you would guess your profession. You're just another young woman going about her business. There's freedom in this anonymity, in these brief excursions into ordinary life. The simple pleasure of walking at your own pace, choosing your own direction. Your muscles work smoothly as you navigate the uneven pavement, your breathing deepening naturally with the exercise. The cool air feels good on your face after the enclosed warmth of the house. The haberdashery is your first stop, a small shop tucked between a greengrocer and a bookbinder. The bell above the door jingles as you enter, and the proprietress looks up from her work, her spectacles perched on the end of her nose. "Afternoon, miss," she says, neutral but not unfriendly. "What can I help you with today?" "Hairpins, please," you reply. "The black ones, medium size." She nods, reaching beneath the counter for a small box. 6pence for a dozen. Good quality these, won't bend out of shape like the cheap ones. You count out the coins carefully. Not that money is particularly tight at the moment, but habits of economy are deeply ingrained. The proprietress wraps the hairpins in a small paper packet, passing it across the counter with a business-like nod. Next is the stationer's, 3 streets over. Here you purchase a small packet of writing paper and envelopes and a new pencil. The elderly man who serves you is more talkative than the haberdashery woman, commenting on the weather, asking if you're buying the paper for correspondence with a sweetheart. You smile and make non-committal responses, playing the role of a respectable young woman with perfect conviction. These small interactions with the outside world have their own peculiar pleasure. The pretense of normality, the brief escape from your actual circumstances. For these few minutes walking these few streets, you could be anyone, a shop girl, a governess, a daughter running errands for her family. But the fantasy has its limits, its boundaries. There are streets you don't walk down, shops you don't enter. The respectable tea room where ladies meet their friends is not for you. The church with its judgmental spire seems to follow you with invisible eyes. Even in anonymity, there are reminders of your place. Your final stop is the baker's, where you indulge in a small luxury, a jam tart, the pastry still slightly warm, the strawberry filling sweet and tangy. You eat it as you walk, savouring each bite, licking a spot of jam from your finger with simple pleasure. Small joys, immediate satisfactions, that's the currency of this life. The walk back to the house is slower, more meandering. You're in no hurry, and the activity feels good after a morning mostly spent indoors. Your body moves easily, muscles working in familiar patterns, joints flexing and extending with each step. There's a satisfaction in this basic functioning, this physical capability. Your lungs fill and empty, your heart beats steadily, your eyes take in the complex visual tapestry of the London street. Just existing, just being. By the time you return to the house, the afternoon is advancing toward evening. The quality of light is changing, the shadows lengthening, the air taking on the particular golden hue that precedes sunset. You unlock the front door with your key. Each girl has another mark of Mrs. Cartwright's trust and good management, and step back into the warm interior. The house feels different now, charged with a subtle energy. Evening preparations are underway. You can hear movement upstairs, voices calling between rooms. The shift is beginning from the quieter daytime rhythm to the busier evening pace. Mrs. Winters intercepts you in the hallway, her practical face set in its usual expression of mild disapproval. There you are. Mrs. Cartwright wants everyone ready by 7 tonight. We've had several messages. Could be a busy evening. You nod, already mentally adjusting your plans. I'll start getting ready then. Has Cook said when dinner will be? 5:30. Early tonight because of the bookings? She eyes the small packages in your hands. Got what you needed, did you? Yes, thank you. You hold up the paper packet of hairpins as evidence. She nods, satisfied, and continues on her way toward the kitchen, her keys jingling softly at her waist. Mrs. Winters doesn't disapprove of you personally. She's fair in her way, but her position requires a certain austerity, a distance from the girls whose work she facilitates, but doesn't engage in. Upstairs, the atmosphere is one of purposeful activity. Doors stand open along the hallway, the girls moving between rooms, borrowing items, calling advice to each other. Evening preparation is both individual and communal, each woman responsible for her own appearance, but all helping each other with the parts that are difficult to manage alone. In your room, you find Lily already half-dressed in her evening clothes, struggling with the buttons down the back of her green silk dress. You set down your purchases and move to help her, your fingers working nimbly at the small fabric-covered buttons. Thanks, she says with relief. Thought I'd get a head start since Mrs. Winters said it might be busy. Good idea. You finish the last button and step back to assess the effect. The green looks well on you, brings out your eyes. She turns to examine herself in the small mirror, patting her auburn hair, which is already arranged in an elaborate style with borrowed hairpieces to add volume. Do you think? Not too gaudy? Not at all. Elegant, but noticeable. Perfect. This exchange of compliments and reassurance is another part of the preparation ritual. The evening clothes are a costume of sorts, a uniform for the role you'll all play later, more elaborate than daytime wear, more revealing in some ways, though still within certain boundaries of taste. Mrs. Cartwright doesn't approve of the garish styles worn in lower establishments. No bright reds or excessive cosmetics here. Lily leaves to finish her preparations elsewhere, and you begin your own transformation. First, a more thorough washing than the quick clean-up after Mr. Wilson. The water in the basin is cold now, but refreshing as you splash it over your face and neck, then use a cloth for the rest of your body. The chill raises small bumps on your skin, a not unpleasant sensation of aliveness. From the chest, you take your own evening clothes, a dress of deep blue silk, slightly faded but still elegant. The colour is good with your dark hair and eyes, the cut flattering to your figure without being obviously provocative. It's one of 3 such dresses you own, rotated carefully to extend their wear. Good clothes are an investment in this profession. They attract a better class of customer, command higher prices. Dressing is a methodical process. Fresh undergarments first, the fine cotton chemise and drawers that are another small luxury, so different from the rough fabrics of your seamstress days. Then the corset, which you can fasten at the front before turning it around and tightening the laces. Not too tight. You need to breathe comfortably, move easily, but enough to create the fashionable silhouette. The petticoats follow, adding volume to the skirt of the blue dress which comes last, settling over the foundations like the final layer of a complex confection. There's satisfaction in this building up, this creation of an image. The physical sensations ground you, the slight restriction of the corset around your waist, the swish of the petticoats against your legs, the smooth, cool touch of silk against your arms. Hair, is next. You take down the simple knot of daytime, brushing out the dark waves until they shine. The newly purchased hairpins are put to immediate use as you create a more elaborate arrangement, not as complex as what a lady's maid might achieve, but neat and becoming with soft curls framing your face and the mass secured at the back of your head. A light touch of cosmetics completes the transformation. Nothing obvious. Mrs. Cartwright insists on a natural appearance. Just a bit of rice powder to smooth the complexion, a touch of rouge for the cheeks and lips, carefully blended to avoid any artificial appearance. The effect is subtle but effective, a slight enhancement of your natural features, a fresh, healthy glow. The final touch is scent, not heavy perfume, but a delicate lavender water dabbed at pulse points, wrists, behind ears, the hollow of your throat. The fragrance rises subtly with your body's warmth, a clean, pleasant aroma that masks any lingering traces of the day's activities. You step back, assessing the result in the mirror. The transformation is complete, from ordinary working woman to something more refined, more alluring. Not a lady, exactly. That fiction wouldn't be believable, but a woman of certain attractions, of particular charms. Someone worth spending time with, worth paying for. The clock in the hallway strikes 5:30. Dinner time. You make your way downstairs, the silk dress rustling softly with each step, the slight additional weight of the evening clothes changing your posture, your movement, back straighter, steps more measured. The physical difference reinforces the mental shift from private self to professional persona. Dinner is served in the dining room rather than the kitchen, another distinction between day and evening routines. The table is set simply but properly, with clean linen and decent cutlery. Mrs. Cartwright joins the girls for this meal, sitting at the head of the table in her own evening dress of dark purple silk. Her presence elevates the occasion, reinforces the standards she expects. The food is plain but plentiful, a hearty beef stew with plenty of vegetables, fresh bread still warm from the oven, and a rice pudding with raisins for dessert. Good, filling food to provide energy for the evening ahead. Wine is served as well, a glass each, enough to create a pleasant warmth, not enough to dull the wits. Conversation flows easily around the table. The shared meal is a moment of community before the individual work of the evening begins. You find yourself seated between Sarah and Emily, with Lily across from you. Josephine is absent, still resting on the doctor's orders. "I heard Mr. Henderson might come tonight," Emily says, breaking off a piece of bread. "Haven't seen him in weeks." Sarah nods, spearing a piece of beef with her fork. Business trip to Glasgow, apparently. His regular night would have been last Thursday. This exchange of information continues throughout the meal. Who might visit, who's been absent, which regular customers might be expected. It's partly professional preparation, partly the ordinary gossip of any workplace. The men you all service become characters in a shared narrative, their habits and preferences common knowledge. Mrs. Cartwright listens more than she speaks, occasionally correcting a detail or adding a piece of information the girls don't have. Her role is complex: employer, protector, disciplinarian, sometimes even mentor. She maintains a certain distance, but there's no cruelty in her management, no unnecessary harshness. As dinner concludes, she addresses the table at large. As Mrs. Winters may have mentioned, we have several definite bookings for tonight and likely more casual visitors. Mr. Harrington has requested Emily specifically. Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Benson are expected around 8. Both are open to whomever is available. There may be others. Several messages suggested possible visits. She pauses, her gaze moving around the table. I expect everyone to conduct themselves with their usual decorum. Remember, quality of service, not quantity, is what maintains our reputation. This little speech is part reminder, part encouragement. The subtext is clear. A busy night means good income for everyone, but standards must not slip in the pursuit of maximum profit. It's what distinguishes this house from many others, this balance between business and certain principles. As the plates are cleared by Betsy and Cook, Mrs. Cartwright rises, signalling the end of the communal portion of the evening. I'll be in my office for the next hour, then in the parlour to receive guests. Good evening, ladies. With that, she leaves, her purple silk rustling impressively as she exits. The girls remain at the table a few moments longer, finishing their wine, extending this last period of relative freedom before work begins in earnest. You sip the last of your wine, enjoying its fruity warmth as it slides down your throat. Your body feels relaxed, well-fed, prepared for what's to come. The chair supports you comfortably. The dining room's warmth envelops you like an embrace. This moment of quiet before the evening's activity has its own particular peace. Your breathing is deep and even, your mind calm and present. Just this moment, just this experience. That's all. Gradually, the girls disperse, back to their rooms for final preparations, to the parlour to arrange things just so, to the kitchen for a last cup of tea before the night begins. You remain seated for a moment longer, savouring this small pocket of stillness amid the accelerating rhythm of the house. Finally, you too rise, feeling the slight weight of the silk dress settle around you as you stand. Your muscles move smoothly, your balance adjusts automatically. The physical sensations anchor you in your body, in the present moment. You straighten your shoulders, lift your chin slightly, ready now. The evening stretches ahead, its exact shape still unknown. There will be customers, some familiar, some new. There will be the performance of charm, of interest, of desire, the physical acts that are the actual commodity being sold, the small talk and large silences, the unexpected moments of connection or alienation. But all that is still to come. For now, there's just this transition, this movement from one state to another. You walk toward the parlour where the first act of the evening will begin. Your footsteps are measured, your breathing steady. The blue silk rustles softly, with each step, a gentle accompaniment to your movement. Your hand trails lightly along the wall as you walk, feeling the slight texture of the wallpaper beneath your fingertips. Present, aware, centred in your body and this moment. Just like that, easy and calm. The parlour has been transformed for the evening. Heavy curtains drawn against the night, gas lamps lit and adjusted to create a warm, flattering glow. The fire burns brightly in the grate, dispelling the perpetual London chill. A decanter of sherry and several glasses stand ready on the small table, alongside a dish of sugared almonds and some small fancy biscuits. Sarah is already there when you enter, arranging herself artfully on one of the sofas. Her evening dress is a deep burgundy that complements her fair colouring, her blonde hair elaborately styled with small pearl pins. She looks up as you join her. "You look well," she says, assessing your appearance with a professional eye. "The blue brings out your eyes." "Thank you," you reply, settling into one of the armchairs. The upholstery is slightly worn but still comfortable, the velvet smooth beneath your hands. "Quiet still?" She nods. "Early yet. Mrs. Cartwright says the first booking isn't until 8. She adjusts a fold of her dress, smoothing the rich fabric with practised hands. Might be slow to start but busy later. It's the end of the month. Gentlemen have just been paid. This practical observation reminds you of Sarah's background. She worked as a clerk in a draper's shop before entering this life and still has a head for figures and business patterns. It's why Mrs. Cartwright trusts her with the account books sometimes. The conversation drifts to ordinary topics as you both wait. A new shop that's opened nearby. Speculation about whether Cook's persistent cough needs medical attention. Whether the coal delivery will arrive tomorrow as promised. normal concerns, domestic matters. The kind of talk that might happen in any household. Gradually, the parlour fills as the other girls join you. Emily in pale green silk that contrasts beautifully with her dark curls. Lily in her rich emerald that emphasises her auburn hair and fair skin. Even Josephine makes an appearance, though she's under strict instructions not to entertain tonight, just to sit in the parlour for company and conversation, building relationships that might lead to future business. Mrs. Winters brings in tea, another part of the evening ritual. Unlike the plain pottery mugs used during the day, the evening tea is served in proper china cups, thin enough that the lamplight shines through them when raised. The tea itself is the same, but the presentation elevates it, creates the atmosphere of refinement that Mrs. Cartwright insists upon. You take your cup, feeling its delicate weight in your hand, the warmth seeping through the fine porcelain to your fingers. The rim is smooth against your lips as you sip, the familiar taste both comforting and stimulating. The ritual of it, the careful holding, the measured drinking, helps settle you into the evening's mindset. Each small movement deliberate, controlled, conscious. The conversation ebbs and flows around you, a pleasant background to your own thoughts. Your body feels relaxed but alert, ready for the evening's work but not tense or anxious. The corset provides gentle support, the silk dress a pleasant sensation against your skin. You're aware of your posture, maintaining the elegant line that's been trained into you over these 2 years. Back straight, but not rigid, shoulders back, chin slightly lifted. The hallway clock strikes 8, its chime resonating through the house. Almost simultaneously, there's a knock at the front door, the first customer of the evening arriving. Mrs. Cartwright appears in the parlour doorway, her purple silk rustling impressively as she moves. "Emily, Mr. Harrington has arrived. He's asked for you specifically." Emily sets down her teacup with a small nod, rises gracefully, and follows Mrs. Cartwright out. The transaction will take place in the madam's private office. Money exchanged, specific requests noted, boundaries established. Then, Emily will escort Mr. Harrington upstairs to her room. Not the blue room of daytime visitors, but her own personal space, prepared for evening clients with fresh linens and additional touches of luxury. A small vase of flowers, a bottle of cologne, perhaps a few drops of scented oil in the lamp to perfume the air subtly. The remaining women continue their quiet conversation, but there's a shift in energy now. The evening has officially begun. Any minute, the door might knock again, bringing another customer. Another assignment. Sure enough, barely 10 minutes pass before the knock comes again. This time it's Sarah who is summoned, a regular client, Mr. Lawrence, who visits every other Tuesday with reliable punctuality. Lily leans toward you after Sarah leaves, her voice low. "I heard from Cook that there's a new gentleman expected tonight, apparently quite wealthy, a banker or some such. Mrs. Cartwright was quite specific about making sure the best sherry was out." This kind of information is valuable, knowing what to expect, being able to prepare the right approach. Different customers want different things, and it's not always about the physical act. Some want conversation, some want sympathy, some want admiration. Discerning what each man truly seeks beyond the obvious is a key skill in this profession. "Did she say anything else about him?" you ask, equally quietly. Lily shakes her head. "Just that he's new to the house, but came with a recommendation from someone Mrs. Cartwright trusts." The conversation is interrupted by another knock. This time, it's your name that Mrs. Cartwright calls. You set down your teacup, smooth your skirts, and rise with practiced grace. Your muscles respond smoothly, your movements measured and deliberate. As you cross to the door, You're aware of the slight sway of your skirts, the subtle shifting of the silk against your petticoats. Each step grounded, balanced. In the hallway, Mrs. Cartwright waits with a gentleman you don't recognise. He's tall, perhaps in his late 30s, with the well-fed look of prosperity and the confident posture of someone accustomed to authority. His clothes are excellent quality, not flashy, but expensively tailored, with the understated elegance that speaks of true wealth rather than aspiration. "Mary, this is Mr. Hamilton," Mrs. Cartwright says smoothly. "Mr. Hamilton, may I present Mary, one of our most accomplished young ladies." You curtsy slightly, offering your hand with a small smile. "A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Hamilton." He takes your hand briefly, his grip firm but not aggressive. His eyes, grey and sharp, assess you with obvious appreciation but without the overtly leering quality some men display. "The pleasure is mine, I'm sure." Mrs. Cartwright makes a small gesture toward her office. "If you'll just step this way for a moment, Mr. Hamilton, to settle the business details. Mary, perhaps you could wait in the parlour. This is standard procedure. The financial arrangements are never discussed in front of the girls, maintaining the fiction that this is a social encounter rather than a commercial transaction." You nod and return to the parlour while they disappear into the office. Lily raises an eyebrow inquiringly when you re-enter. "The new one?" "Yes," you confirm, resuming your seat. "Seems the respectable type. Banker or lawyer, I'd guess from the clothes and manner." She nods, understanding the unspoken assessment. Different types of men require different approaches. The respectable ones often want more elaborate pretense, more conversation, more courting ritual, more assurance that this is somehow different from a straightforward exchange of money for services. Within a few minutes, Mrs. Cartwright returns to the parlour, Mr. Hamilton at her side. "Mary, perhaps you'd be so good as to show Mr. Hamilton to your room. I believe you'll find you have much in common to discuss." This is her way of conveying the specific requirements. The emphasis on discuss suggests he's paid for conversation as well as physical service, not unusual among the more educated customers. You rise again, moving toward him with a warm smile. "Would you care for some sherry first, Mr. Hamilton? Or shall we go directly upstairs?" "I believe I would enjoy a glass," he replies, his accent confirming your guess about his social position. Educated, but not aristocratic. Upper middle class, probably. You pour 2 small glasses from the decanter, handing one to him with a practiced movement that allows your fingers to brush against his, a small calculated intimacy that establishes the first physical connection. His response, a slight smile, a moment of held eye contact, tells you he's not uncomfortable with such gestures. The conversation begins with easy topics: the unseasonably cold weather, a recent concert at the Albert Hall that he attended, a neutral observation about the increasing traffic in London's streets. You listen attentively, responding with just enough knowledge and insight to be interesting without challenging his evident self-image as the more worldly and informed party. It's a familiar dance, this conversation. Leading without appearing to lead, creating a space where he can feel interesting and appreciated. Your body language supports the impression, leaning slightly forward to indicate interest, maintaining eye contact, offering small smiles at appropriate moments. All calculated, all practiced, yet executed with enough genuine attention to seem natural. When his glass is empty, you set your own down, still half full. You never drink much while working, and stand. "Shall we continue our conversation somewhere more comfortable, Mr. Hamilton?" He nods, rising as well. "Lead the way, my dear." Your room is on the 2nd floor, at the back of the house. It's small but carefully arranged to create an impression of intimacy and comfort. The bed, larger and more elaborate than the one you actually sleep in, dominates the space, made up with clean linens and several pillows. A small fireplace holds a modest fire, enough to take the chill from the air. The washstand is equipped with a fresh pitcher of water, clean towels, and a bar of good soap. A screen in the corner provides a semblance of privacy for undressing. The gas lamp is turned low, creating a gentle, flattering light that softens imperfections and creates an atmosphere of warmth. A small vase of hothouse flowers, an extravagance, but one that Mrs. Cartwright considers worthwhile for evening clients, adds a touch of colour and scent. Mr. Hamilton looks around with approval. "Charming," he comments. "Quite charming." "Thank you," you reply, closing the door softly behind you. "Please, make yourself comfortable." What follows is the standard pattern of such encounters. More conversation, growing gradually more personal. The slow transition from talking to touching. The negotiation, unspoken but clear, of what will and won't happen. The physical act itself, performed with professional skill and apparent enthusiasm. Mr. Hamilton proves to be a considerate partner, not rough or demanding, mindful of mutual pleasure even in this purchased intimacy. When it's over, he doesn't immediately withdraw but lingers, an arm draped casually across your waist as you lie beside him in the rumpled bed. "You're very good at what you do," he says after a while, his voice thoughtful rather than lascivious. "Thank you," you reply simply. There's no point in false modesty or elaborate denials. You are good at this work, having learned its skills as diligently as you once learned sewing. "How did you come to be here?" he asks, his tone curious but not judgmental. "If you don't mind my asking, you seem different from what I expected." This question is not uncommon from new clients. They want to hear a story, usually one that confirms their preconceptions or satisfies some particular narrative they find appealing. The seduced innocent, the fallen lady, the secretly passionate woman who couldn't be contained by conventional society. You could invent such a tale easily enough, but something about his manner, genuinely interested rather than pruriently curious, inclines you toward a version closer to truth. "I was a seamstress," you tell him, your voice matter of fact. "The pay wasn't enough to live on, not really. 16 hours a day, eyes straining in bad light, fingers bleeding in winter, and still never quite enough for rent and food." You pause, feeling the memory's distant echo. "This pays better. The hours are shorter, the conditions more comfortable." He's silent for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "A rational economic decision, then?" "Yes," you agree, though not one society views rationally. This small philosophical exchange seems to interest him. He props himself up on one elbow, looking at you with increased attention. "Do you find that paradoxical? That what is essentially a market transaction is viewed with such moral condemnation?" The conversation continues in this unexpected direction, a genuine discussion of economics, morality, and gender politics. It's refreshing in its way, this treatment as a thinking being rather than merely a body. Your mind engages with the ideas, your responses revealing more of your intelligence than you typically display to customers. Eventually, the hallway clock chimes the hour, a reminder that the purchase time is coming to an end. Mr. Hamilton sighs, then smiles ruefully. "I've spent more time talking than I intended," he says, beginning to gather his scattered clothes, "though I don't regret it in the least. Nor do I, you reply honestly. It's been an unusually pleasant encounter, physically undemanding and mentally stimulating. You're welcome to return anytime. The standard farewell phrase carries more sincerity than usual. He does seem like someone who could become a desirable regular, respectful, hygienic, interesting to talk to, and presumably wealthy enough to visit often. He dresses efficiently, but without rushing, maintaining dignity in what could be an awkward transition. When he's fully clothed again, he reaches into his waistcoat pocket and produces a small additional coin beyond what he's already paid Mrs. Cartwright. For the conversation as much as anything else, he says, placing it on the small table rather than directly in your hand. A gesture that somehow feels more respectful, less transactional. Thank you, you say, not reaching for it yet. It was genuinely interesting. He nods, seemingly pleased by this response. Perhaps I'll return next week, if that would be convenient. I'd be delighted, you tell him, the professional phrase again carrying unusual truth. With a final smile and slight bow, he leaves. You hear his footsteps on the stairs, then Mrs. Winter's voice greeting him in the hallway below. She'll see him out discreetly, ensuring he doesn't encounter anyone arriving or departing. Alone now, you begin the after-customer routine. Washing, changing the linens, restoring the room to order. The physical movements are automatic, requiring little conscious thought. Your body knows this dance well. The efficient stripping of the bed, the thorough but quick washing at the basin, the smooth remaking with fresh sheets from the chest. The repetitive actions are almost meditative, allowing your mind to drift. The encounter with Mr. Hamilton was unusual enough to prompt reflection, the genuine intellectual engagement, the treatment as a person with thoughts worth hearing. These are rare in this life. Most men want fantasy, escape, physical release. They don't want real conversation, real connection. Yet it would be a mistake to read too much into it, to create a narrative of special understanding or exceptional circumstances. He paid for your time, your body, your attention, just like any other customer. That he chose to use some of that time for conversation doesn't fundamentally change the nature of the transaction. This clear-eyed assessment isn't bitter or sad, just realistic. You've survived in this life partly by maintaining such boundaries, such clarity about what is and isn't real. It protects you from the dangers of false hope, of misplaced emotional investment. The room restored to order, you check your appearance in the small mirror. The encounter was relatively gentle, requiring only minor repairs to your hair and dress. A few pins repositioned, a crease smoothed away, a touch more colour to your lips. Ready again. Before returning downstairs, you take a moment just to breathe, to centre yourself. Standing in the middle of the room, feet planted firmly on the floor, you close your eyes briefly. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Slow, deep breaths that expand your ribs against the gentle constraint of the corset. A conscious relaxation of your shoulders, your jaw, the small muscles around your eyes. This moment of deliberate stillness helps separate the encounters. Mr. Hamilton is now past. Whoever comes next is not yet present. Just this breath, this moment of being only yourself, belongs entirely to you. You feel the solid floorboards beneath your feet, the slight movement of air against your skin, the rise and fall of your chest with each breath. Present, grounded, centred. The hallway clock chimes the half-hour, pulling you back to awareness of time passing. You open your eyes, take one more deep breath, and move toward the door. The silk of your dress whispers around you as you walk, a gentle accompaniment to your movement. Your hand on the doorknob is steady, your posture balanced and poised, ready for whatever, whoever comes next. The house has taken on its full evening rhythm now. As you descend the stairs, you can hear multiple voices from different rooms, the murmur of conversation, an occasional laugh, the clink of glasses. The business is in full flow, the carefully orchestrated dance of supply and demand, desire and fulfillment, fantasy and reality playing out behind multiple closed doors. In the parlour, you find Lily alone, rearranging the sherry glasses and straightening the cushions between customers. She looks up as you enter, her expression brightening. "There you are. How was the banker man? Cook was right about him being wealthy. Did you see that gold watch chain?" You smile, settling onto the sofa beside her. He was fine, talkative, intelligent, might become a regular. She nods, understanding all the unspoken assessment in these simple phrases. "Lucky you. I had old Mr. Watson again. You know, the one with the wandering hands and the peppermint drops he's always sucking. Breathes like a steam engine, that one." This exchange of information is partly practical, partly the ordinary sharing of workplace experiences. There's comfort in it, in the unspoken understanding between women who share this particular life. No need to explain, to justify, to defend. Just acceptance of the reality you all navigate. The fire in the grate has burned down somewhat, creating a softer, more mellow light. Lily rises to add another small log, her movements economical and practiced. The fresh wood catches quickly, sending up a small flare of brighter flame before settling into a steady burn. You watch the fires dance, letting your gaze soften, your thoughts quiet. The warmth reaches you even several feet away, a gentle caress against your skin. The parlour smells of wood smoke, sherry, the subtle perfumes worn by the girls, and the lingering scent of the hothouse flowers arranged in a vase on the mantelpiece. Familiar smells, comfortable in their associations. Your body feels pleasantly tired but not exhausted. The kind of physical awareness that comes from being active but not strained. The silk dress holds you gently. The corset supports without constraining too severely. Your feet, encased in evening slippers rather than the sturdier boots of daytime, are tucked beneath you on the sofa, the muscles relaxed and comfortable. This quiet moment between customers is another of the small spaces that belong to you alone. Not required to perform, to engage, to respond to another's needs or desires. Just existing, just being, in the warm room with its gentle light and familiar smells. Your breathing naturally slows, deepens, in and out, easy and calm. Lily settles back beside you, her own posture relaxed as well. "Quiet night for late November," she observes. "Weather, do you think? That rain earlier was fierce." You nod, glancing toward the heavily curtained window where occasionally the sound of raindrops can still be heard pattering against the glass. Probably, though it might pick up later. Theatre crowds and such. This practical assessment of business conditions is another part of the professional mindset. Understanding the patterns, the external factors that influence your work. Weather, payday cycles, major events in the city, all affect the flow of customers, the potential income. The conversation drifts to other topics. A new dress Emily is having made, speculation about whether Josephine will recover quickly or need extended rest, cook's plans for Sunday dinner. Ordinary talk, domestic concerns. The kind of conversation that might happen in any household where women live together. Time passes in this peaceful interlude, measured by the gentle ticking of the clock and the gradual settling of the fire. Your muscles feel loose and comfortable, your mind calm and untroubled. Just this moment, just this experience of warmth and quiet company. Your breathing synchronizes naturally with the rhythm of the house, the distant murmur of voices, the occasional creak of floorboards, the soft rustle of fabric as Lily shifts position beside you. The front door knocker sounds. Another customer arriving. You both straighten slightly, professional awareness returning. Mrs. Cartwright's voice in the hallway, welcoming whoever has come. Then her appearance in the parlour doorway, her gaze finding you. Mary, a gentleman has asked for your company. Are you available? You rise smoothly from the sofa, feeling the pleasant weight of the silk dress settling around you as you stand. Your body feels rested, ready. Of course, Mrs. Cartwright. She nods, gesturing for you to follow her to the hallway where the next customer waits. As you move forward, you're aware of the balanced precision of your steps, the gentle sway of your skirts, the deep, even rhythm of your breathing. Centered, grounded, present in your body in this moment. You're ready for whatever comes next, moving with calm purpose into the continuing evening. The evening continues its measured progression, one customer following another in the carefully managed rhythm of the house. Some faces familiar, some new, some encounters brief and straightforward, others more complex. Throughout it all, you maintain the professional persona, attentive, charming, apparently delighted by each man's company regardless of the reality. By 11 o'clock, there's a natural lull. The early evening customers have departed. The later ones, those coming from theatres or gentlemen's clubs, haven't yet arrived. The house settles into a brief quietude, the girls gathering in the kitchen for a light supper and restorative cup of tea. The kitchen at this hour has its own particular charm. The main cooking for the day is done, but the large range still radiates comfortable heat. The air smells of baked bread and the beef stew from dinner, with undertones of soap from the washing up and the ever-present coal smoke that permeates all of London. Cook has gone to bed. Her day starts earliest, but has left out bread, cheese, cold meats and a fruit tart for the girls to help themselves. You sink gratefully into a chair at the kitchen table, feeling the solid wood support your weight. The evening's activities have left you tired but not exhausted, your body aware of its exertions but not strained beyond comfort. The chair cradles you, allowing your muscles to release some of their careful control. That's nice. Just letting yourself relax a bit. Emily is already seated, her plate bearing a modest selection of bread and cheese. Her green silk dress is slightly crumpled now, her carefully arranged hair beginning to loosen from its pins. The evening's work shows in these small details, these gradual erosions of the perfect image constructed hours earlier. Busy night, you ask, reaching for a plate? She nods, swallowing a bite of cheese. 4 already, and Mrs. Cartwright says there might be a group coming later, some gentlemen from a club dinner. Lily enters as Emily speaks, catching the last words. I heard the same. Private dining room at the George, apparently. 6 or 8 men at least, if they all come. This news prompts mixed feelings. More customers means more income, but also more work when you're already feeling the evening's effects. Still, it's what you're here for, the purpose of this life. You select some bread, cheese, and a slice of cold beef, arranging them neatly on your plate. The simple food is appealing after the evening's exertions, substantial, satisfying, no pretense or performance required in its consumption. Sarah joins you, bringing the teapot from where it keeps warm at the edge of the range. The familiar ritual of pouring follows, the steaming amber liquid flowing into cups, the offer of milk or sugar, the appreciative first sip. The tea is strong and sweet, reviving after hours of professional smiles and calculated charm. The conversation around the table is desultory, relaxed. No one has much energy for elaborate discussion or significant topics. Instead, there are small observations, minor complaints, the exchange of brief anecdotes about the evening's customers. It's comfortable, this shared understanding, this common experience that needs no explanation or justification. You feel yourself unwinding further in this peaceful interlude. The tea's warmth spreads through your chest. The food satisfies your hunger. The familiar company soothes your social self. Your breathing deepens naturally, your shoulders dropping slightly as tension continues to release. Just easy now. That's it. Too soon, the respite ends. Mrs. Winters appears in the kitchen doorway, her perpetually serious expression perhaps a touch more severe than usual. "They're here," she announces without preamble. 6 gentlemen from the club dinner. Mrs. Cartwright wants everyone in the parlour immediately. There's a collective sigh, quickly suppressed. Professional responsibility reasserts itself. Plates are set aside, teacups drained, hasty checks made of hair and dress. The brief period of relaxation recedes, replaced by the necessary focus of work. In the parlour, Mrs. Cartwright is already entertaining the new arrivals. 6 men as reported, ranging in age from perhaps 30 to 60, all in evening dress that shows signs of a lengthy dinner, slightly loosened cravats, waistcoats bearing minor stains of wine or food. Their voices are louder than the usual parlour tone, their laughter more frequent, the effects of good wine and male companionship making them less restrained than solitary visitors. Mrs. Cartwright looks up as you and the other girls enter, her expression revealing nothing but professional welcome. "Ah, here are the ladies now. Gentlemen, may I present Emily, Lily, Sarah, and Mary. I'm sure you'll find their company most agreeable." What follows is a more complex negotiation than usual. With multiple customers and multiple girls, there must be sorting, matching, agreement on who goes with whom. Some men have preferences. They like blondes or petite figures or a certain manner. Some girls have their own preferences or specialties. Mrs. Cartwright orchestrates this delicate process with practiced skill, ensuring everyone is satisfied without anyone feeling they've received less than their companion. You find yourself paired with one of the younger men, perhaps 32 or 33, with dark hair already receding slightly and a neat moustache. He introduces himself as Edward, speaking in the careful enunciation of someone monitoring their sobriety with limited success. "Delighted," he says, bowing slightly over your hand. "Absolutely delighted. And may I say, the blue of your dress is most becoming." The standard compliment is delivered with sufficient warmth to suggest he actually means it, or at least believes he does in this moment. You smile, thanking him with the practiced grace that such comments always receive. The professional machinery of your mind is already assessing, categorizing, planning the approach. Slightly drunk but not incapacitated, eager but not aggressive, probably married. There's a pale band on his finger where a ring has been recently removed. The conversation that follows is predictable in its progression. Light social topics giving way to more personal observations, the gradual introduction of flirtatious elements, the subtle transition from talking to touching. Your body performs its role automatically. The right expressions, the appropriate responses to his increasingly bold compliments, the carefully calculated physical proximity that encourages without promising too much too soon. Eventually, the moment arrives when the parlour conversation has served its purpose. Like a well-rehearsed play, all the couples reach this point within minutes of each other, pairs rising from chairs and sofas, moving toward the hallway and the stairs beyond, each girl leading her customer to the appropriate room. The encounter with Edward is unremarkable, neither particularly pleasant nor especially difficult. He's too affected by wine to prolong matters, too conventional to request anything unusual. When it's over, he falls into a light doze, his breathing deep and regular beside you in the rumpled bed. You lie still for a few moments, giving yourself this small period of rest. The room is warm from the fire and recent activity, the air heavy with the mingled scents of sex, cologne, and the lingering trace of your lavender water. Outside, rain has begun again, pattering against the window in an irregular rhythm. Distant sounds filter through the house, voices, laughter, the creak of floorboards as someone passes in the hallway. Your body feels the familiar sensations of these moments after, the slight stickiness of skin, the particular muscular awareness that follows such activities, the gradual return to normal breathing. Not unpleasant, just physical realities, the body's honest responses beneath the professional performance. Edward stirs beside you, moving from doze to wakefulness with a small start. "Oh," he says, momentarily confused. I do apologise." "Not at all," you assure him, the professional voice returning smoothly. "You seemed peaceful. I didn't wish to disturb you." He smiles, relieved by this gracious interpretation of his brief lapse. The aftermath proceeds according to the usual pattern. Brief, slightly awkward conversation, the careful separation of bodies, the methodical reclaiming of scattered clothing. You help him with his cravat, your fingers deft with the familiar knot. He thanks you with genuine gratitude for this small service, for the larger one preceding it, for the entire constructed experience that allows him to return to his normal life with certain needs satisfied and his self-image intact. Once he's gone, you perform the now familiar routine of restoration, washing, changing linens, ordering the room. The physical actions are automatic, requiring little conscious thought. Your body knows these movements, performs them with economical grace while your mind drifts in the quiet aftermath. It's been a long day, you realise, from the early morning awakening through the various phases, chores, doctor's visit, afternoon customer, evening preparations, multiple evening clients, each requiring different aspects of yourself, different kinds of attention and performance. The accumulated weight of all these hours, all these interactions, settles into your awareness as a profound physical and mental fatigue. Not an unpleasant feeling, this particular tiredness. There's satisfaction in it. Work completed, income earned, challenges met. Your body feels thoroughly used but not abused. Your mind weary but not distressed. Just the natural exhaustion that follows sustained effort and attention. The body and brain signal that rest is now required. The clock in the hallway chimes 1, morning already, technically, though still the depths of night by any practical measure. The rain continues its gentle percussion against the window, now joined by the distant rumble of thunder, a proper storm developing by the sound of it. You finish the room's restoration and check your appearance one final time. The blue silk dress is definitely showing the effects of the long evening. Small creases set in, a slight loosening of the careful fit. Your hair has partially escaped its pins despite repeated adjustments, and the subtle cosmetics have worn away to almost nothing. Still presentable, but the immaculate image of early evening is long gone. Returning downstairs, you find the parlour empty except for Mrs. Cartwright, who sits in her customary chair completing some notes in her account book. She looks up as you enter, her shrewd eyes taking in your appearance with a single glance. "I believe that's all for tonight, Mary," she says, her voice showing the first hints of her own fatigue. "The last gentlemen have gone, and I don't expect more at this hour, especially with the weather turning." Relief flows through you at these words. Permission to end the workday, to shed the professional persona, to retire to the privacy of your own true bed and genuine rest. Thank you, Mrs. Cartwright. Shall I help with anything before going up? She shakes her head, closing her book with a decisive movement. No need. Mrs. Winters has seen to the doors and windows. Cook will handle things in the morning as usual. She rises, smoothing her purple silk with automatic precision. Good night, then. Good night, Mrs. Cartwright. This brief exchange marks the official end of the working day, the transition back to private existence. You climb the stairs to the top floor, each step requiring slightly more effort than it did hours earlier. Your body is definitely ready for rest, the accumulated fatigue of the day making itself fully known now that professional demands have ceased. The bedroom you share with Lily welcomes you with its familiar simplicity. No customers ever come here. This is purely private space, the one place in the house that belongs just to you and your roommate. The two narrow beds with their plain cotton sheets and wool blankets. The small chest where your daytime clothes and few personal possessions are stored. The washstand with its ordinary pottery basin rather than the fine china of the customer rooms. Lily is already here, seated on her bed in her nightdress, brushing out her long auburn hair with slow, tired strokes. She looks up as you enter, offering a smile that carries all the shared understanding of your common life. "Finished for the night?" she asks, continuing her brushing. "Yes, thank God." Mrs. Cartwright says that's all. With the storm coming on, you begin the process of undressing, your fingers working at buttons and hooks with automatic skill despite their tiredness. "How was your evening?" She shrugs, the gesture eloquent in its simplicity. "The usual. Nothing remarkable. Made decent money, though. That last one was generous." This exchange of minimal information is enough. You both understand the reality behind the brief words, the complex experiences condensed into these simple phrases. There's comfort in this shared knowledge, this lack of need for explanation or elaboration. The blue silk dress comes off with relief, the corset following with even greater satisfaction. Your lungs expand fully for the first time in hours as the restrictive garment is set aside. The cool air of the bedroom feels wonderful against your skin, a small physical pleasure that belongs entirely to yourself. The nightdress that follows is plain cotton, well worn and soft from many washings. Its familiar embrace settles around you like a blessing. Comfortable, undemanding, requiring no performance or pretense, you unpin your hair, letting it fall loose around your shoulders. Then begin to brush it out, as Lily has done. The repetitive strokes are soothing. The slight pull against your scalp, a pleasant sensation that helps release the last of the day's tensions. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like?" Lily asks suddenly, her voice quiet in the lamplit room. "A different life, I mean." The question doesn't surprise you. These late-night philosophical wonderings are not uncommon, especially when fatigue loosens the normal restraints on such thoughts. You continue brushing as you consider your answer. "Or sometimes," you admit, "but then I remember what it was actually like. The hunger, the cold, the constant fear of ending up in the workhouse. At least here we eat well, we're warm, we have some control over our lives." She nods, accepting this pragmatic assessment. "I suppose that's it, isn't it? Not good versus bad, just different kinds of difficult, different prices to pay." "Yes," you agree, setting down your brush. "Different prices." This small moment of shared reflection feels valuable, an acknowledgement of the reality you both navigate without either romanticism or despair, just clear-eyed understanding of the world as it is, the choices available to women like yourselves in this time and place. The conversation drifts to more immediate matters as you both complete your preparations for sleep. Plans for the morning, a reminder about laundry day, speculation about whether the storm will affect tomorrow's deliveries, ordinary concerns, domestic details, the anchoring minutiae of daily life, daily. Finally ready, you extinguish the lamp and slip beneath the covers of your bed. The sheets are cool at first, gradually warming with your body's heat. The mattress, stuffed with horsehair and somewhat lumpy, nonetheless feels wonderfully comfortable to your tired body. You shift slightly, finding that perfect position where everything aligns just right. That's better. Outside, the storm has intensified. Rain drums steadily against the window, wind occasionally gusting to rattle the panes. But inside is warmth, shelter, the deep quiet that comes at the end of a long day's work. Your eyes close naturally, your breathing deepens and slows. Lily's voice comes softly through the darkness. "Night, Mary." "Good night, Lily," you murmur in response, the words slightly blurred with approaching sleep. The day's events begin to loosen their hold on your mind, the specific memories gradually giving way to more general impressions, sensations, feelings. The physical reality of your body in the bed becomes your primary awareness. The weight of the blanket, the softness of the pillow beneath your head, the pleasant heaviness of your limbs as they relax completely. Your breathing finds its natural sleeping rhythm. Deep, slow, regular, in and out, easy and calm. Each exhale seems to carry you deeper into relaxation. Each inhale brings you closer to the waiting realm of sleep. Your mind grows quiet, thoughts becoming less distinct, less demanding of attention. The sounds of the storm outside create a perfect backdrop for sleep. The steady patter of rain, the occasional rumble of thunder now more distant, the soft sighing of wind around the house's corners. Nature's lullaby, ancient and effective. Your consciousness begins to drift on this gentle sea of sound, floating rather than swimming, carried rather than moving through your own effort. In this drowsy state, at the threshold of sleep, a kind of wisdom sometimes emerges, not the sharp clarity of full wakefulness, nor the chaotic imagery of dreams, but something in between, a perspective that sees beyond the immediate struggles and small victories of daily existence, to the broader patterns of human experience. Your life in this Victorian brothel is just one tiny thread in the vast tapestry of women's experiences throughout history. Difficult, yes, dangerous in its way, morally condemned by the society that simultaneously creates the conditions that make it necessary and the demand that makes it profitable. But also a place of certain freedoms unavailable elsewhere. Economic independence, however limited, female solidarity, however complicated by competition, control over your daily existence, however constrained by larger social forces. The weight of history, of all the women who came before you finding their complex paths through similarly constrained choices, feels momentarily present, not as a burden, but as a kind of company. You're not the first to navigate these waters, not the last. The particulars change, the fashions, the specific economics, the exact social structures, but some essential quality of the experience remains constant across time. This thought brings a strange comfort as you sink deeper towards sleep. Your breathing gets even slower, your body heavier against the mattress, so comfortable now, just letting go completely. The Victorian world outside continues its complex dance. The strict social hierarchies, the profound inequalities, the elaborate hypocrisies that allow it all to function. But here in this room, in this moment, there's just the simple reality of a human body needing rest, a mind seeking the renewal of sleep. The most basic requirements of existence, unchanged since the beginning of humanity. Your awareness of the room grows dimmer as sleep approaches more closely. The physical sensations of the bed, the sounds of the storm, even the awareness of your own breathing, all begin to fade, to recede like a tide pulling back from shore. What remains is just a gentle, floating feeling, a peaceful drifting toward unconsciousness. Sleep now. Let yourself sink deeper into that perfect relaxation. Your eyelids are heavy, so heavy it would take too much effort to open them now. Your limbs feel pleasantly weighted, impossible to move, even if you wanted to, which you don't. You just want to drift all the way down into deep, restful sleep. That's it. Just let go completely. The day is done. The work is finished. Nothing more required of you now except to rest, to renew, to dream perhaps of different possibilities, different worlds, but for now, just sleep. Deep and peaceful, easy and calm. Sleep now. Sleep well. Drifting deeper with each breath, down and down into perfect, complete rest.